The top 100 company did not arrive at that position of leadership by accident. It was intentional, and they were proactive. And in being proactive, they were able to think ahead, see beyond problems, and take informed action to achieve desired results. And one of these things that those proactive leaders are intentional and proactive about is sales communication. They are extremely proactive in implementing sales communication program. Over the last few days, I introduced to you our thesis as relates to the sales communication process. And our thesis stands on four pillars. One, we talked to you about the sales process. We talked to you about the communication process. And we talked to you about the pull factors and push factors of sales communication. Today, I want to spend some more time with you going deeper into the pull factors of sales communication and looking at specific target market. The reason of today's program is that very often as we interface with clients across the world, we recognize that there's a major error as those businesses set out to identify their target market. And I'll begin to get a specific right now. To be specific in targeting your market, there are four important concepts, four pillars, four wisdoms, you may want to call it that you want to pay very close attention to. To be demographic specific, to be target market specific, it begins with you having a clear understanding of your demographics. It begins with you having a clear understanding of the psychographics of that target market. It begins with you having a clear understanding of the geographics of those target market. And last but not least, you should also take the time to understand the cost of running a business because there's a cost attached to everything that we have just talked about. And if that cost is overlooked, perhaps this is one of the reasons that most businesses mark time when it comes to getting demographic specific. Let me unlock some of what I would have said early on. Demographic specific means that one, you identify your target market. What we see happens very often, you may say that you're targeting the business community or you're targeting genders, specific gender. But to say that you're targeting a target market based on gender, to say gender is not demographic specific. You may be identifying a specific demographic, but is it demographic enough? Because in targeting gender, you have male and female. And even in targeting male, you can get more specific. For example, you may be targeting male based on income bracket, and you may be targeting male based on lifestyle and culture. And if you're not specific enough, there lies a challenge. And there lies a challenge with a number of international clients and local clients that we're dealing with. You believe that you're demographic specific, but when we do the drill down and the deep diagnostic, we recognize that you're not as demographic specific as you think you are. The same principle applies to business, and I will give an example of this as I go deeper into today's program. You see, if you're not demographic specific, you cannot come to the second tier of what I'm talking about, the second pillar of what I'm talking about, which is the psychographic. If you do not understand the specific demographic, there is no way in which you can understand the psychographic of the demographic. Now, the psychographic is what really helps you to understand the needs, wants, and expectations, the dreams, hopes, and aspirations of the specific demographic. Those things that I just mentioned are all psychographics. And if you do not understand the demographic based on their psychographics, you cannot do specific demographic targeting. There lies a great challenge. If you continue to do business in this way, perhaps that is the reasons why you are struggling to optimize visibility with the ideal client. And if you're struggling to optimize visibility, you're not going to have reach, impact, and ultimately conversion, because from conversion, you lead to cash flow. So it's important as you focus on the pull factors of sales communication that you pay very close attention to everything that I'm saying. These techniques are used by top 100 companies. They invest billions of dollars annually to ensure that they have their built out ecosystem, and those ecosystems are fully optimized in terms of positioning their brand, their value proposition in front of the specific target market. So today we emphasize the four important things that you need to understand when you are attempting to be demographic specifics. You need to understand your demographic, and you need to go deeper into understanding them beyond just gender or beyond just saying you're targeting the business community. If you do not know this, you cannot understand the psychographic. The third important concept here that you need to look at is what we call the geographic. And the geographic is what helps you to understand the strategic location, the specific location of your target market. Again, knowing this is so important. And in the absence of doing this, you're not specific. And let me emphasize a little bit how important this is. And over the next few days, we will go deeper into all of this. Let us suppose that you produce an ad to reach a specific demographic. That ad has to be filtered into a communication channel. Well, let us just suppose that you pull and select a communication channel by your whims and fancy without taking into consideration the geographical location of your target market. That simply means that you are likely to be spending money that will be wasted because it will not carry the information from your messaging content to the specific target market. Because, first of all, the vehicle of communication that you're using is not built out to carry the information to the geographic. There lies a major problem. Again, this is why we see annually millions and hundreds of millions of dollars is invested in advertising that is wastefully done so. Wastefully. Our role is in working with you to ensure that we can reverse those wastage and ensure that we can optimize the results that you're getting from your advertising dollars. Hence the importance of understanding all of these issues that I'm talking about today. The last concept here that I want to talk about, as I mentioned, the four pillars, is the cost of doing business. Very often, you want to achieve the optimal best in the demographic specific targeting, or targeting the market with great specificity, or targeting the market with clinical precision. But there's a budget to do so, and you should understand the cost of running a business. So over the next few days and weeks, we will do a deep dive into all of this. Today, what I want us to do also is to do that clinical analysis of what it means to be specific target marketing, to do specific target marketing. Again, as I said, I see many businesses starts and they say, this is my target market. And when we do the deep dive, they're far, far away from this. And let me give some graphical example of what I'm talking about here. So you're attempting to do specific target market or demographic targeting, and you're a business consultant. So in your mind, you are saying that you are targeting the business community. Now, how specific is that? I want to show you it's not specific at all because the business community can be looked at from different standpoints. You have micro institutions and you have macro institution. But let us look at it from the standpoint of the business subsectors. And there are a number of business subsectors. And when you're doing specific demographic targeting, you need to understand those subsectors. For example, there is the primary subsector, there's a secondary subsector, there's a tertiary subsector, and there's what is also known as the quaternary subsectors. And let me briefly explain what all of this means. In the primary subsector, you're going to have agriculture, farming, fishing, forestry, and mining. As a business consultant, you may never interface with a farmer because a farmer may have different needs from an agriculturist. An agriculturist may have different needs from a fisherman. A fisherman might have qualitative different needs from a miner. So, in being demographic specific, it means that you understand the entire ecosystem of what these businesses are run on, or at least a specific demographic need of this sector. And if you're not catering to this particular sector, again, you may not be a macro business consultant, you might be more micro than you believe. So when we're talking about being specific in demographic targeting, you want to know all of these things because you know from the get-go that the primary sector is not your demographic. All right. Or you may say that you're targeting the primary sector or a subsector within the primary sector. You want to be as specific as this because, as my argument is, it's not enough to know your demographics. It's equally important to understand the psychographics of the demographics. And if you're not specific in your demographic targeting, you will never know the psychographics. And if you don't know the psychographics, you're in a weak position to grab attention, pique interest, arouse desire, move the client into action, make impact, convert, and cash flow maximize. That's the ultimate objective of the sales communication process. So if you don't have the information, you cannot achieve optimum impact, optimum results. The second example that I want to give today is the secondary sector. The secondary sector may represent things like manufacturing, some aspect of labor, and of course, artificial intelligence. So, as a business consultant, you are going to be asking yourself, are you catering to the manufacturing sector, the secondary sector? And if you're catering to the secondary sector, which subsector of the secondary sector you are catering to? Artificial intelligence are now replacing the human resource in manufacturing. Are you able to speak to artificial intelligence? And again, if you're not speaking to artificial intelligence when it comes to the secondary sector and manufacturing and industrialization, again, you may not be as macro as you think you are. You may be more micro. And it's important, again, to notice when you're doing specific demographic targeting. You need to know this because the more information that you have about this, it's going to enable you to make better business decision. And in doing business, you need to take the guesswork out of the business. You need to take the speculation out of doing business and put yourself in that position of strength where you are armed to your teeth with critical information. The third example I'm going to give here today, again, as it relates to specific target market, is the tertiary sector. What exactly does the tertiary sector means to you? Now, in the tertiary sector, we have things like hotel, banks, you know, retail industries, restaurant, sales and marketing, and the list goes on. As a business consultant, you may provide services to retail industries, but you may never provide services to banks and perhaps hotel. So again, you might be dealing with a specific sector because the banking sector is very technical, and you may have to understand financial instruments at a very high level in terms of interfacing with the banks. For example, the banks might need to understand or work with the derivatives, and there are different types of derivatives. There are forward, future, option, swap derivatives. Are you the subject matter expert in terms of speaking to the banking community on these types of derivatives that provides a hedge to financial instruments? Perhaps not. Perhaps you are the subject matter expert here. So, in other words, I'm saying to you, when as a consultant, you're saying that you're targeting the business community, that is a macro statement, when in fact it should be a micro statement because you need to be specific in terms of which sector within the tertiary sector you're targeting, which subsector in the tertiary sector you're targeting. This is what enables you to be demographic specific. And the more demographic specific you are, you can then move to the second tier of understanding the psychographics of that target market, which is what are their motivators. And by understanding their motivators, their demands, you're now able to build a value proposition based on the psychographic of the demographic, and you're most likely able to make a stronger impact right here. All right. So today we are doing that deep dive into how to leverage the pull factors of sales communication and how to get about doing specific target market, how to identify specific target market, and how to truly connect with the specific target market. The last example I'm going to look at today is the quaternary sector. And this sector is very unique. It's part of the tertiary sector, but it has been segmented because of it's slightly different in the sense that this sector deals with phones, cable, and internet providers. It's a different subsector. So they have siphoned off this sector and give it some clear definition. All right. So it's, you have some differentiation in terms of this business sector. Perhaps you might be an agency that is providing to this quaternary sector. You're dealing with, you know, services and perhaps hardware that is relevant to the phone industry, the cable industry, the internet industry. Or perhaps as a business consultant, you will never provide any service here. This again goes to my argument that you may be more micro as against macro consultant. So again, when you say you're a business consultant, again, you too need to be specific as to whether you're a macro consultant or a micro and business consultant. These are very, very important that you need to have. Now, I want to emphasize this. If you want to be successful in business, we are proposing the, our thesis, the sales communication process, which is based on research, heavy research. If you don't have the intelligence of the market, you really cannot leverage the system that we are offering you. Our system, I want to assure you, is a very superior system when it comes to marketing, when it comes to optimizing visibility, reach, and impact, and client conversion. When it comes to leapfrogging the business potential to cash flow, it's a very superior platform. Now, in closing, I want to reemphasize To be specific in identifying your target market and building out your value proposition, you need to get as specific as what I would have just mentioned to you. You need to understand the demographic, and you need to be specific of which subsector the demographics you're targeting. It's absolutely necessary. If you don't understand properly the demographics, you will never understand the psychographics. And the psychographics, again, is a representation of the needs, wants, and expectations of the target market. And if you're not clear about the psychographics, you could never be clear about the value proposition. This means that you might sit and develop some type of value proposition, but is it relevant to your target market need? Are they willing to pay for the products and services that you're offering? You want to know all of this thing long before you innovate that value proposition. This is how you save time and money. This is how you reduce your stress level and enhance your happiness. So, on the happiness index, you're way up there. The third concept that we talk about, you need to also get geographic specific, meaning that it's not enough to know your demographics, it's not enough to know their psychographics. But once you know these two things, you want to know how to reach your target market. And that's all geographics. It's about understanding how to use mass media, social media, metaverse, and independent communication channel. Absolutely necessary. Along with this, we talk about the cost of running a business. There are many persons that starts a business without taking into consideration the cost of running that business. So when it comes to taking practical steps to leverage management data the way it should be managed, you're completely ill prepared to deal with this. To run your business effectively, when we talk about the cost of running the business, I'm talking about you clearly understanding what is your cash flow projection and what is your cash flow game plan. And yes, I know there are so many persons out there talking today that you don't need a business plan, you don't need a cash flow projection. Perhaps you might be a sole trader, perhaps they might be, having a small team and for them it's not, it's working. But have you thought of industries, big industries that needs to have HR policies, that needs to have a clear game plan? Are you are we talking about companies that are looking to pitch to private equity investors that will need to see historical data and future financial projections? Perhaps not. So there you had it, my thoughts for today on how to ensure that you're being demographic specific. And once you position your business, your brand, your ideas to be more demographic specific, it will definitely put you in the league of the top 100 companies. They are research oriented, they are demographic specific, and they invest capital to achieve the business objective. As I said at the beginning of this program, the top 100 companies did not arrive at their corporate position of leadership by accident. They were intentional about this. How intentional are you in making smart investment decisions in 2023? I want to encourage you to reach out to us at Pitch Deck 101. I will now put that number on the screen and we will be happy to talk with you about smart ways, innovative approaches that you can use to apply the thesis that I've just presented to you. Do feel free, reach out to us. Along with this, like, subscribe, and share this podcast, and reach out to us for a free consultation. The first consultation is always free, and we are here to deploy this entire ecosystem that we call the sales communication process. We want to outfit your organization, your sales department, with this unique model. And I want to show you from the day one, you will see major changes in how your sales, marketing, public relation team is operating and functioning to move your institution forward. All right. Again, my name is Gary Thompson. I'm a business development consultant by profession. I'm a humanitarian by nature, and I'm the self published author of several books, including TEDx, Branding and Marketing Blueprint, The Psychology of Money, and so much more. Be blessed and see you in the next broadcast.